Before we begin, we believe that knowledge is valuable. If you agree, consider subscribing for more videos just like this one. In the clandestine corridors of Cold War-era intelligence, where secrets intertwine with whispers of uncertainty, a curious chapter emerges from the recently declassified JFK assassination documents. Among the revelations lies a confirmation that, until the mid-1950s, the CIA entertained the notion that Adolf Hitler might have eluded the clutches of defeat and sought refuge in the distant landscapes of South America. The snippets of information released to the public through McClatchy newspapers unveil a peculiar investigation by the CIA into the possibility of Hitler's escape, complete with a 1954 photograph that purports to capture the elusive dictator living incognito. The storyline gains complexity through an unnamed informant's testimony, claiming contact with a former SS member, Philip Citroen, who boldly asserted that Hitler had, indeed, relocated to Argentina in the following year. While the documents themselves reflect a certain skepticism within the CIA, the seriousness with which they took this inquiry echoes through the decades. Yet, by the end of 1955, the investigation seemed to have waned, relegated to the annals of historical speculation. The prevailing historical narrative asserts that Hitler met his end in the ruins of Berlin in 1945, but the lingering tendrils of alternative histories continue to captivate the imagination. In considering the hypothetical scenario of Hitler successfully escaping to Argentina, one conjures an image of the infamous dictator living out his days in a remote corner of the South American landscape, shielded from the prying eyes of a world that believed him to be long gone. If he had managed to elude detection until 1964, the timeline of his life in hiding becomes a canvas on which to paint a surreal portrait of what might have been. The Nazi Party, once a juggernaut of totalitarian power, would have faced an unprecedented prohibition in post-war Germany. Its symbols eradicated and Mein Kampf banished from public discourse, Hitler would have observed the rapid demise of the movement he had orchestrated with ruthless precision. The Allies' comprehensive denazification initiative, which transformed Germany from a bastion of Nazi rule in 1945 to a landscape bereft of visible Nazis a year later, would unfold without his direct involvement. Geopolitically, the world would have unfurled before Hitler's hidden eyes, revealing a divided Germany caught in the crossfire of the Cold War. The ideological struggle between a Soviet-dominated communist East and a free, democratic and prosperous West would shape the destiny of a nation still grappling with the scars of war. The physical division of Berlin by the infamous wall in 1961, with US troops stationed in the western half to fend off potential Soviet threats, would stand as testament to the geopolitical consequences of the Allies' triumph over Hitler's ambitions. Yet, even in the secluded sanctuary of his hypothetical exile, Hitler would not escape the repercussions of his infamous legacy. His name and likeness, once symbols of power and authority, would undergo a profound metamorphosis, becoming synonymous with evil and malevolence. Countless films, books, and broadcasts would depict him as a monster, immortalizing the disdain of a world that had learned the horrors of his reign. From the shadows, Hitler would observe the establishment of a Jewish state in Palestine, a development that marked a significant chapter in post-war history. In 1960, he would witness the daring capture of his accomplice, Adolf Eichmann, from Argentina, where he had assumed a false identity. Eichmann's subsequent trial in Jerusalem in 1961 and his execution in 1962 would unfold without Hitler's direct involvement. The grim specter of justice would cast its shadow over those who once served the Nazi regime. A peaceful death in obscurity, far removed from the trials and tribulations of a world moving on without him, would not have been a fitting conclusion for the man responsible for some of the most heinous atrocities in human history. To truly face the consequences of his actions, Hitler would need to be brought to account for the horrors of the Holocaust, the devastation wrought upon Europe, and the countless lives lost. In this alternative narrative, however, the scenario of an escape to South America poses a paradox. While a life in exile might have spared him from the immediate consequences of justice, it would not have shielded him from the bitter truth that his vision had crumbled, his country had transformed, and his legacy had been tarnished beyond repair. The man who once believed himself the arbiter of destiny would have lived long enough to witness the verdict of a world that had moved on without him. The hypothetical scenario of Hitler escaping to Argentina, though improbable in the eyes of conventional history, serves as a captivating thought experiment. It invites contemplation on the resilience of historical mysteries, the malleability of truth, and the enduring fascination with the shadows that lurk at the edges of our understanding of the past. As the whispers of speculative history fade into the background, the enigma of Hitler's escape, whether grounded in reality or mere conjecture, remains a haunting echo in the corridors of time.